Well, happy birthday, Puma.
Thank you, sir.
It's going to be a fun year, man.
It is. It's always fun.
Well,
it's always fun when you know what you're working for and towards, and when you like the people that you're working with. So, no complaints here.
it's going to be a good one. It's going to be fun. So, we're going to have a fun topic today, and I'm sure we're going to deviate and take a few different tangents along the way, as usual. But, the secret to this business is understanding that it's the people and communications business, right? It's not real estate. It is about how do we get people to trust us to do what they're going to do anyway. Let's be honest, guys. If I want to go buy a boat, I'm going to go buy a boat, right? I don't care who's involved between me and going to buy a boat. I will end up with a boat, right? If I have to buy a house, I'm going to end up with a house. If I need to buy a car, I'm going to end up with a car, right? So this is the issue that we have to just wrap our brains around for a second. People are going to do it with or without us, and it doesn't matter. And they honestly, let's be realistic, they don't care if they work with you or not. They'd prefer not to. Sorry to be that bearer of bad news this morning, but everybody wishes we were not in the middle of a transaction. We are.
And to be fair, though, that's the case with everything, right? Why do you think we love Amazon? I don't have to interact with anyone. I just go click buttons and then my stuff that I want shows up. What do you do when you go into a store and you see a salesperson at Target that like makes eye contact? Like, oh no, and Target's probably a bad example, but what if you went into Best Buy or any of these other places? What are you trying to do? Avoid them, right? You go into a clothing store, you're avoiding them. You don't want to talk to them because people think that you're about to get sold and they don't want to interact with you, right?
With the one though, right? When you're in the browsing stage, that's the correct. But when you're ready to pull the trigger, right? There's a big difference between phases.
Correct. Big time.
But let's let that sink in for a second real quick. So you walking into the store, you're looking around. Hey, can I help you? Welcome to whatever mart. And no, I'm just looking, right? You came in to buy, but you're just looking. And the people are hovering around you. And you're like, get the hell away from me. I don't want nothing to do with you. Then you're finally like, yes, I feel comfortable. I've checked out the prices. I know I can afford it. I feel it. I like it. Everything is good. And then you look around, you can't find anybody to help you. And that's when you want somebody to help you. And then you just want to transact. Now, perfect world, you just feel, look, touch, and you did the research. You go in, you get it. There's nobody in the middle. So let's just go with that for a minute. That people would prefer not to work with us until they see the real value that you have going on and what you bring to the table, right? So that's why we work so hard to get you to reposition yourself as the trusted advisor, right? To have them come to you in the dreaming stage, right? Not feeling they're going to get pressured into anything and saying, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about maybe buying an investment property. How does that work, right? Hey, I think we do have some equity in our home. How does that work? Like your post this morning. Everybody who owns a home right now is sitting on money, right? And there's a thought in their brain saying, is this stupid? Should we not be spending this money? Or maybe we shouldn't, let's just hunker down. They have their own thoughts and their own thoughts are fine. But until you interject yourself of a person of trust, not trying to take anything from them, they're never going to reach out.
Yeah. 100%. That's how it works. Right. But I think it's all about understanding what value you actually play and realizing that you control that narrative. You control how they're going to perceive your value. Because if you go in and you set the tone that your value is to help them with the home search process, right? And that's really where your value is setting them up on a search in the MLS. You are going to immediately devalue yourself long-term, right? Because what happens when they find that house themselves? What happens when they see a house on Zillow that you didn't present to them? Well, the value that you built for yourself is gone because they found the house, right? where what if that wasn't your value? What if your value was, hey, listen, you're probably going to see homes because you're looking constantly for your exact spec. You're going to see homes you like before I even see them. So when you see something, send that to me. My job really is to make sure that once we find the one, that I'm the ninja that's going to actually make the deal work and get you that home, right? So it's all about understanding and communicating where your value is too, to set that tone early on. Because if you set the value in the wrong way, I think that is where a lot of agents really fail, and that's where you get ghosted. That's where the deal falls apart. That's where they buyers are liars. They'll lie to you, and they'll end up using somebody else.
Correct. Now here's the tricky part. The value that you bring is different to each people in the transaction. If I'm going to sell, if you and Courtney are buying a home for your family, right? You are a different person than your wife. Okay. You value different things than your wife values, right? So me, I'm the guy in the middle, and I may have value. I bring value, but I have to speak a different language to you than the language I have to speak with Courtney, to make sure that she feels comfortable with me and you feel comfortable with me, because I have this myriad of this combination, right? It's a crazy combination. D, I, S, C, V, A, K, all of that rolled into one little jumbly alphabet soup is what Mike needs to feel comfortable, right? I would have to present in a certain way, because people like people who are what? Type it in. I'm letting you guys hang.
Themselves.
People are like themselves. So if I have to communicate with Puma differently than I have to communicate with his wife, if I want both of them to trust me, to feel comfortable with me, to allow me to be the person. I promise you, Courtney has a lot of real estate friends. I bet you Mike has a lot of people in real estate, and I'm the one guy who's going to be chosen. I bet you that there's every transaction you're doing right now. If you're working with a more than one person transaction, somebody else has another idea about another agent to be working with. And if you don't think that conversation's come up, you guys are crazy and just kidding yourself, right? The husband says, hey, what about Scott? And the wife's saying, well, what about Barbara, right? I went to school with Barbara. She posts all the time. She's good. Well, what about Scott? Scott said this. What about Barbara? Barbara did this. Barbara Scott battle is going to happen on every one of your transactions.
Well, and you know what's even more dangerous about that conversation? You know what happens a lot of time? They say, you know what? Well, I don't want to piss Barbara off. Well, I don't want to piss Scott off. You know what? Let's just use somebody else. That way, if we ask, we didn't hurt anyone's feelings, right? And Absolutely. It becomes a personal thing. But the only way you win that battle is if Scott has built a better connection than Barbara, or Barbara's built a better connection with both of them than the other. And then there's just so much skill set and value there. Like, you know what? Yes, but Scott's good, but Barbara, has done this, or I really trust Barbara is going to help. That trust and connection, it will be the difference maker. And if it's not there, you really are at risk, because you may not even lose them to Scott. You may lose them to a stranger. And if we really care about that individual and that couple, right, that we're trying to help, now you're putting them in the hands of a stranger. That's not good for them, right? So that's the risk.
That's the unspoken risk. We don't really talk about that as much as we need to, right? Because it's happening. They're going to come up with a story saying, okay, well, if Scott asks you and if Barbara asks you, just tell them that we found a home on our own and we work directly with the listing agent, and we're so sorry. We'll just say that. They'll both be pissed at us, but they'll get over it, right? So they're coordinating against you right now because they see you as a door opening monkey, right? And if you are just a door opening monkey, you're dead, right? You're out of business, whether it's today or next year. If that's the value you think that you bring, then you're in deep, 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 deep trouble, right? So, but that's a whole different class. So well, let's take this for a second. So what I want to talk about today is make sure that we all have our brains in gear about, I'm going to use a fishing analogy, right? Because I miss going fishing and I need to go fishing and I love fishing, and it just teases me daily, right, as I watch them swim by and say, hey, catch me, right? So if I were to go out fishing, which is in essence what we do, we cast a huge net, right? If I cast a big net, I'm going to catch more fish. right? Or I'm going to attract more fish, right? So I'm going to do things to attract fish. I might chum up the water. I might make it more attractive for them to come around, right? I want to do something to make them feel comfortable, to feel safe, and to be attracted to come over. Okay, that's what I want to do. I want to have bait to bring people over so they can see that, hey, this is a good place to go hang out. That's what prospecting is, right? It's being something out attractive that connects the attention, commands the attention of other people so they say, hey, I'd like to know a little bit more. All I want is the opportunity to connect. Okay, so let's understand this. The only thing I'm selling on everything that I'm doing is an appointment. Okay, everything I'm doing is to get a conversation, to set an appointment, to put them in my funnel. Okay, it's all. I'm going to repeat that. Everything I do is to get somebody to say, huh, interesting, tell me more. That's it. Okay, and that's when the sales job starts. Okay, the difference between marketing and sales. So we're going to talk about marketing today, to the attraction strategy. Like how do we market and attract more things so we have the opportunity to get this marketing to create a sales opportunity. Okay, marketing is not sales. It is not sales. Sales is a byproduct of marketing, because if you don't get somebody to say interesting home, interesting marketing, interesting attitude, interesting opportunity, then the sales process can't even start, right? So let's talk about how do we promote ourselves from a marketing angle to be most attractive to the masses, so we then can see if we want to work with those people. Okay.
Let's use your fishing analogy, right?
Yep.
If I go out and I use one type of bait, am I going to attract every fish, or am I going to attract very specific fish that like that particular bait? So if I went out and used multiple types of bait, I'm going to attract multiple types of fish, right? So we have a decision to make. Are we going to solely go after one type of fish, or are we going to cast our net, right? In your reference, are we going to cast our net and try and catch as many fish as possible in that net? And in order to do that, we've got to use multiple types of bait, or in our world, multiple types of communication and personality connections, right? So
Yep.
DISC, BAK becomes very, very important. And we won't know that oftentimes going into it, right? So we don't know what that is. When we blast a message out, a lot of times the message, the communication style we end up using is a lot of times just our natural go-to style, right? Because you're the one writing it. So you just write it in the way that it's meaningful to you. But if we really want to be strategic about who we're attracting, and we want to attract as many people as possible, that's when the strategy comes in to take a step back and say, okay, well, I'm a heavy visual, but there's a lot of people who may read this or listen to this that are auditory or kinesthetic. And now if I start thinking about those things, now I can start to alter my message from my marketing perspective using aka different types of bait to now attract in one post, one text, one email, one property description, one bio. I could hit a bunch of different points with a bunch of different people and build connection with a bunch of different personality types that now all of a sudden fill my net, my funnel, with a bunch of different people. And then once I get in, right, then now we set that appointment. Now becomes the real skill of figuring out exactly what they are, entering their world, and taking it from there. So that's kind of the marketing side of this, though, is to literally cast that net as wide as we can by understanding how we're communicating and how our communication is coming across to the individual reading it or listening to it or watching it.
That's right. Now, and then let's go a little bit deeper on this one for a second, because I think about John's past, because a bunch of my stuff here. I'll call you back in a meeting, call you back. So there's a boat, Hubbard's Marina. It's got this huge, giant head boat, fishing boat. They'll take a couple hundred people out fishing for a 36-hour fishing trip. And they'll load up with all kinds of baits, all kinds of rods, all kinds of depths, all kinds of tackle, all kinds of opportunities. and they'll literally drop hundreds of different baits down at different size to catch whatever the hell they can catch, so they can come back with a huge pile of fish and say, look, we're really good at fishing. And it's true. And they catch a lot of fish and they're really good at it. Then a few docks down is a guy that specializes just in snook and redfish. And he only uses a specific bait and a couple of specific rods and goes only to a specific place because he only wants a specific fish, right? And he doesn't care about any other fish because he enjoys the process of catching these fish only because they're fun, and he's become an expert at those specific fish and knows how and what and where and when and how to dangle the proper bait to attract that fish so he gets them, right? So the parallels that we're using here is you get to figure out what your business is. When you're saying, look at me, I'm cute, I'm pretty, I'm ready to go, and look at me, my Instagram, TikTok video, right? You're the head boat dropping a whole bunch of lines in the water, hoping to catch something. And that's great, right? You don't really know what you're going to catch until it nibbles and you bring it up, okay? So your business, you get to determine, do you want to go after the masses or are you going after one specific species, right? And because that's going to change your marketing plan a little bit, but in that species still is DISCBAK. So we have to really, really, really get prepared on this one. So no matter what your business model is, this is relevant to you is my point, right? Whether you're zero in on just one specific street or one specific town or one specific price point or one specific home type, or you're just saying, I'm in real estate, bring it all to me, I'll take it. And both are right. There's none of them are wrong. It depends on how you want to run your business, but it's equally relevant on that.
Yep. 100%.
So while you transition to Studio B, I'll talk about, let's talk about bios while Puma's walking around. Your bio is your ultimate dating profile, right? Because people are going to read it and they're going, you don't know who's going to read it. You don't know when they're going to read it. You don't know where they're going to read it. You know how they're going to read it, but you know what's going to happen. Even if their best friend says, hey, you need to use Barbara because she's cool. It's a Barbara who? And they write down her number, write down her name. Guarantee you they Google that name. And they're going to go to your testimonial page. They're going to go to your pages. They're going to see if you're on Zillow. They're going to see if you're real. They're going to check you out. They're going to look at your picture, right? And your picture is going to attract or repel. Your story is going to attract or repel, right? And everything you're talking about is going to attract and repel. And we need to be very cognizant about this because you are attracting and repelling people every day, nonstop, no matter what. So you're either going to do it deliberately or unintentionally. And that's what we're talking about today is let's do it intentionally and deliberately. Make sure that we're doing everything on your bio perspective. You have to make sure that you're attractive to D personalities. Okay. So let's talk about that for a second. From a D personality standpoint, and I want interaction from you guys watching right now. What are some things you think are going to be personality? Type in a couple of lines or words or things that you think are going to be attractive to a D personality. So a high D is reading your bio. What do you think needs to be in there? Brenda, to the point. Okay. Yes. D is going to appreciate that. Okay. What is a D personality going to appreciate? How about I respect my client's time. Okay. I get directly to the point. There's no fluff. There's directness. Tammy, thank you very much. These are the things that I want to see and I want to understand from a D personality. And if you're like, we're going to have the best time, we're going to spend time, I don't rush, or we go around, we're going to have a great day, we're going to have a mimosa, we're going to cruise around, we're taking to the beach, we're going to go look at flowers, delete, not even going to read anymore because you blew it, because that's not what I want as a D. Okay. So you need to have words like that in there. So if you're going to be talking with an I personality or attractive to an I personality, write in there some of the things you're going to have in your bio that you think an I personality may appreciate. A total I, an 18 I. I is the fun personality, right? The interpersonal. There's Carol, fun, talking about what's going on. They're going to enjoy the process. They're going to all my clients become friends for life. And I love them and they love me. And we have little shopping adventures and we do all this stuff and right. Things that would make a D puke, but an I like, oh my God, I need more friends, right? They need something to connect with. We're gonna have a great time. I really like to understand you. Colors, right? Right. Yes, it's gonna be fun. Now pictures, right? Pictures, very visual type. So there's your I personality. You guys are getting the point of this one. What do you think from a C personality, Brenda? I'll take yours back. A super analytical. In 18 analytical stats, right? I pride myself in my expert research, and I am dead on with my home list price to sales price ratios and details. And I've studied every grain of sand on this beach, and I know absolutely everything in the days on the market, and I have up to date on the right loan programs, the interest rates, the taxes, the benefit, the insurance connections, everything financial, all bundled into one. But you got to speak.
Craig just got warm and fuzzy. I can tell already.
Tammy says it's on C. Exactly my point, Tammy. Right? Tammy is like the anti-C. Right? She's like, there's no C hanging in there. So you got to go back in, and Tammy especially is super high I, super high D, right? Could care less about analytics, stats, or people's feelings. She's just going to go do whatever she does, right? There it is. And that's nothing wrong with that. She just has to be conscious about this one. So she may intentionally want to repel analytical people because it's going to aggravate her. No problem. There's Craig laughing, right? That's fine. That's her business model. But so you get to attract what you want and repel what you don't, guys. This is important, right? And then from an S personality, the social, the sweet. I like to call the S's sweet, right? What do you think S's are going to want to see in your bio, to read in your bio, that make them feel like, oh my gosh, an 18S, read your bio. What do they want to see? What do they want to read? What do they want to feel? Type it in. I want to hear. No pressure. We take our time until it's just right. We're going to go slow. We're going to make sure that we're going to work together as a team. Good job, Wipa. Well, will we do anything? It's going to be the right thing at the right pace, at the right time. That's what we're going to do. And I care you. I care, and we'll give you lots of time. Good, Brenda, right? And you guys are getting the point. So this is the point. Now, I challenge you to read your bio right now. I give back to the community. Yes, Kimberly, right? Perfect, exactly, right? I give back, I do this. So now, remember, this is our net. This is our net. So in your bio, you need to have, I'm to the point, I'm direct, I don't waste time. It's a good time. We do have a lot of fun. My clients do become personal friends because they respect what I do for them. I care. I take time on my stats. I really look at the details. I make sure the I's are dotted, T's are crossed. I got a transaction coordination team. Everything is handled correctly. You're going to make a great investment move. I'm going to have all the experts that you possibly need. We're going to hug. It's going to be sweet. We're going to have fun, and we're going to take our time, right? That's what your net is, guys. Because when somebody Googles you and finds you and it says, if you're just a high D, boom, no hugs from Brenda, right? Fine. Then you're not going to have the huggy people, which is perfectly fine, right? But you got to just do it. Now, what is your bio? Go look at your bio, go redraft your bio, and spend a little time on your bio, because that is your ultimate dating profile. That is going to attract the D, attract the I, attract the C, attract the S, because here's your news flash. High Ds, typically their spouse, their couple, their significant other is directly opposite of them. A high D probably has a high S, right? Significant other that helps balance out the world, that they piss off everybody, so this person mops them up, right? So if you're total high D, he or she's going to hate you or not feel comfortable with you, she might not say anything because that one may have the power, but you never know how that goes. So wouldn't it be better for you to actually have words in here? Mike is the high S. There you go, Tammy. Right? Have the words in there to know that this person does tolerate you at least, or at least understand that you understand them, right? And if you don't consciously do this, guys, then you're going to miss out on 75% of the business, because you're focusing in just on your 25% of the world, right? And then the rest of them you're just ignoring, and it's not smart. And as this market shifts, guys, we're in a weird ass market. I hope you guys all appreciate that. Who knows if there's a nuclear bomb flying today? Interest rates in Russia went to 20% this morning. I don't know if anybody saw that. There's weird things going on. Okay. So people are going to need people that they feel comfortable, that they trust, that they want to have advise them on the largest financial transaction in their entire life. Right. So this isn't a look at me, I'm pretty, check out my picture at the beach move. This is a, hey, I connect with you. Here's who I am, and here's my resilience. This is my ability to work with DIs, S's, and C's without saying that, right? What do you say about that, Mr. Marketing Man?
No, I mean, it's 100% right. And I think, listen, if you are strategically and purposefully ignoring specific personality types, then cool. At least you recognize that you're doing it as a part of a business plan. Unfortunately, I think so many of us ignore those people by accident, and then we wonder why our business isn't scaling to where we want it to go. And so that's really the purpose of this class. If you really have a choice to make, I'm either going to only cater to this type of people because I can connect with them easily and I don't have to work very hard at it. And yes, my business may be a little smaller, but I'm working with people that I want to work with. Great. That is a business decision, but make it a business decision. Don't do it because we're just being ignorant to the fact that we communicate one way and that's not the way they communicate. And then if you're new to all of this, I would argue this is like the most important thing. Like the scripts are super important. Obviously understanding the contract's important. All that's important. But you have got to be able to build connection and trust with multiple personality types. And when you get really good at it, and if you want, go back on Begin's Agents, or I'm sure it's on the Next Level Resource Center as well. Search DISC. You're going to see some training in our training content where we've done past role playing, and Jeff has done it, where he's literally role playing a couple and going back and forth and changing personality types like mid go, right, during the listing presentation. Like that is the ultimate skill set where we should all aim to get to, because that is where you are bulletproof. That is where when you are getting in front of someone, it's a done deal. They will hire you. And obviously this is super important when you're dealing with people who don't know you already, right? When you're dealing with strangers, when you're dealing with someone that doesn't have that innate trust or relationship with you. If you're doing this with friends, it's a little bit different. But still, when we're putting out marketing pieces, it's so important that we're thoughtful about this. Whether you're writing a property description, whether you're sending a text blast out, whether you're doing an email campaign, whether you're running a Facebook or Instagram ad, whether you're shooting a live video, if we're strategic about it and we're really careful and say, before we even shoot this video, right? And yes, I'm talking about, let's say we're going to do a live video talking about the new projects coming up. That's a great video. But how can I frame my language in that video to be responsible to all the different personality types, right? And you can do it. It sounds challenging, but it's really not. If we just understand how they operate, right? In the same way Jeff just laid out your bio, understand that the D personality isn't making it past your first paragraph, right? They're just not. And on a Facebook post, they're not making it much past the first, second, third line of what you write. So if I want to connect with that D, that is where the first couple lines, I'm super direct and to the point. And I want them to get across my message within those first two lines. And if I do that, I'm going to connect with that D. At the same time, I have to understand that my S's and my C's, they're going to read the whole freaking thing. So I need to make sure that I can connect with them later in what I'm writing, because they're going to read the whole thing because they want to know it, right? So these are the things that we just have to be thoughtful of when we're building a marketing piece, when we're building marketing for a listing, when we're working with a particular buyer, trying to attract a particular buyer. These are just things that we need to be thinking about from a marketing perspective.
The difference, guys, between being an amateur and being a professional, right? That's it. Right? This is it. This is the whole. What the biggest difference between an amateur and a professional? What are they? What would you think? One gets paid, right? The second one is a lot more, right? That's the issue, because they get paid, right? That's their job. It's just, that's the difference. They practice and they get paid, right? They practice and they get paid. They practice and they get paid. They practice and they get paid. So are you an amateur doing 4-6 deals a year? Because that's what the average in the whole US does, just by nature, because they stumbled into a bar with somebody, happened to be next to them, right next to them, and they did a deal. And there you go. That's an amateur lucky deal. And let's call it what it is. And that's great, right? But it's not a profession, right? Profession is deliberate sport, right? Like from a door, I love the whole concept of prospecting, talking to people, door knocking, especially because it's a sport, right? It's like, who's behind this door? Let's see, right? It's a 95-year-old S, and my next door is a 35-year-old D from New York, and the next one is an analytical lady from Kentucky, and the next one is a super high visual, right? Whatever it may be, it's showtime, guys. It's a sport, right? And this is where people screw it up. Okay, this is where it happens. You just wing it, and when you wing it, you're worrying about what you say, so you're all internal, trying to figure out what are you going to say next, and you're completely ignoring the person on the other side of the communication, and you're not even paying attention that she's from New York and she's a high S or a D or a C or Alabama or whatever they are. They roll out to you exactly how to communicate with them, so you give them the absolute best experience of their life. It's right there in front of you, but you go internal and you're like, God, what am I going to say next? Oh, and you're already on your next sentence before they're even done talking yet. You're dead. You're an amateur. Out of it. You're never going to do really well in this business until you make the switch and you're like, I do the same thing every time to every person without fail every time. Period. Oh, you want to sell your home? Great. I'd love to interview for the job. Let me explain to you how I run my business. This is what I do. I'm going to go look at your house. I'm going to go do some research. I'm going to call you back with some questions. I'm going to send you an email with some links and some videos and stuff. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to discuss pricing with you. Then I'm going to talk about certified pre-owned homes, and then we're going to sign the contract, and I'm going to get you sold in that order, right? I don't go in a different order. That's my order. You don't like it? Hit the road, right? Why? Because I can do that process with an S, with a C, with a D, with an I, with a visual, with an auditory, or with the kinesthetic. The exact same process, because I don't have to think about the process. Now I can think about you and delivering the best experience to you in the language that you speak, which is either DEs, IEs, SEs, CEs, VEs, AEs, or KEs, or a combination of those, okay? The moment you don't follow a process every single time, you're automatically an amateur. Done. Zero chance. You're going to have to just get lucky. And that's not a business model, right? That's not. Oh, you're thinking about buying a home? Wonderful. I'd love the opportunity to interview for the job to be your buyer's agent. Let me explain to you how I run my business. Boom. Who are you working with as a lender? Nobody? Get your ass on the phone with my friend, right? Then I'm going to talk to him. He's going to tell us what price point you want to stay in. I'm going to take you into my Zoom room. We're going to look at about 100 properties. We're going to narrow it down to 5. We're going to take your ass into my car. We're going to pick one. You're going to buy it. I'm going to go to work as a badass ninja negotiator, and I'm going to get you the house. You want to start today at 3:30 or tomorrow at 4? But you want to do a different process? Get out. I don't do a different process. This is how it works because it works. Period. Right? Why? Because I can do the same process with a D, an I, an S, a C, a visual, auditory, kinesthetic, right? Exact same process every single time without fail. Now it's just a sport. How do I deliver this message in a way that little old Myrtle, the high S from Kentucky, is going to appreciate my process? Because now I don't have to think about what I'm going to say. I just have to think about how I'm going to say it, right? That's it. And then her son's in the mixture too, and he's a high D New York attorney, right? I need to talk to Myrtle. I need to talk to him. And then the exact same process, but my delivery is completely different. I'm like, look, let me tell you how I know you're busy. This is how I do this. This is what I'm, Myrtle, you know I got you taken care of. All is fine. Listen, Joe, this is how we're going to do it. What's the best way to connect with you? I'm going to call you when I need you. You want me to text you? Want me to email you? What do you want me to do? Right? That's the sport, guys, is figuring out how do you connect. If you're still thinking about what your process is, good luck. Good luck. If you're trying to create your own process, why in the hell would you do that? It doesn't make any sense, right? This sport, this business is connecting and just listening and just delivering it.
And connecting across all points of communication, right? I think that was the big unlock when I started hanging around you. I think a lot of us who have been in any form of sales for, a long period of time, have gone through sales training and have kind of learned that when you're sitting in front of someone, how to relate, how to build connection, how to mirror match, how to do those things, right? And so for me, at least, that part of it always has come pretty natural. What didn't, and what I just didn't really think about, was email communication, but more specifically text communication, and how important that was to mirror match. And I never really thought about it until, years ago. We were having a discussion about it, and you were doing it with an agent, and you realize an agent got ghosted, right? And I think we've all had that happen to us, where all of a sudden you think you're doing well with someone, and then they're gone, right? Whether it was a client, whether it was a relationship, like, who knows, right? But all of a sudden they ghost. And why? And 9 times out of 10, if you look back at that communication, you were completely ignoring the way that they were communicating, right? Were they using emojis? What words were they using? Were they VAK? And you can tell via text message, right? It just wasn't something that I really ever thought about until I started paying attention to it. And then it was like, okay, well, wait a minute. If they use emojis, I'm going to use emojis. If they don't use emojis, I'm not using emojis, right? Because that's not how they communicate. And so looking at the words they're using, and all right, they're visual, so now I'm going to use visual words in my responses. Like, everything from the way they say hello, do they say hey, do they say hi, do they say hello, do they say how do you do, like, all the little details. And when I started mastering that piece of it, then it was like, oh man, like, now I can build connection through text, I can build connection through email, I can build connection over the phone, I can build connection when we're face to face. And so now, again, you start to bulletproof yourself. And that's what we call all of our things, right? It's a bulletproof listing process. It's a bulletproof buying process. We also need the bulletproof marketing process, the bulletproof communication process, because I'm the chief marketing officer, and I don't even really like the word marketing, because I think it's just, especially in our business, it's not. We're not trying to necessarily market something. We're trying to connect with something, right? With someone. That's it. So it's really the connection process, the attraction process. It's not really marketing, because you're not a big company that needs to attract a ton of people and traffic to a website and then get them through a sales funnel. And it's not how this business works, right? And really all you need is that one person, because once you get that one person, what are they worth?
130 grand.
130 grand, that one person, right? So for those of you that, even if you're only doing, like Jeff said now, 3 to 6 deals a year, guys, those 3 to 6 deals are worth $130,000 each, if you are doing it correctly and you're building true connection. And now we can take that 3 to 6 and we can turn that into 6 to 12. And then we can turn that into 12 to 24. And you see how this business builds, right? Just by building true connection. So it's easy to scale once you have built your bulletproof system and your bulletproof business plan as an individual agent.
Think about just the process of sniping, right? Being a sniper, for example, right? Let's just, every one of us in the same situation right now. If you had more inventory, you'd be richer. True or false?
Very true.
Okay. So if you have every spare moment right now, should it not be spent bringing inventory to the market? Yes or no?
It definitely should be.
Okay. So if you found a nice property with an expensive property, would that make you more money than finding a crappy property that's cheap?
Yes.
Okay. So if I'm a business person and I wanted to find an expensive property, get it on the market, and make a lot of money, that would be a smart thing to do, correct? Okay.
Yes. But Jeff, I've never sold an expensive property, so that'll never work.
Good. So calm your drunk monkey down, get some bananas, lock them in a cage, and say, shut up, right? So would you go into Remine? Do you guys all know how to go into Remine? Yes or no? Yes. Could you find a piece of property that's not on the market, that if it were on the market would sell very quickly? Is there the cul-de-sac lot with the big backyard and the big pool is more attractive than the one wedged in the middle with everybody else, right? The one on the end of the canal with the best view is more attractive than the one staring 30 feet across at the guys scratching his belly in the kitchen, right? It's just worth more. So that's the issue. So if you know that, and you could say, I need inventory, anything in this town or these streets would sell. I'm going to go into Remine. I'm going to find out that Scott and Shirley Jones own this piece of property, and I'm going to click on it. And I'm going to find out about Scott and Shirley Jones, their address, and I can Google them, and I can find out what Scott does. I can find his Facebook profile. I could send him a message on Messenger. I could read his LinkedIn. I could find out his bio. I could see visual auditory kinesthetic DISC from his job, from his title, from the way that he writes, and I could send him a message, true or false. Right?
100% true.
I can send him a message that will end up, he would like me whether or not he wanted to sell or not, right? Or at least he would not be repelled by me. Why? Because I will strategically write the same words he uses. I will specifically speak in the language that he speaks because I know he's the data analyst for Raymond James, okay? I better use a little bit more analytical words when I'm writing to him, right? And then I find his wife and I'll write the same thing, say, hey, I sent a message to your husband, Scott, and let's say she is the chief creative officer for something else. She is probably an I. So my message to her might be a little different than it is to her husband. And I'm still trying to find out, hey, you guys have a beautiful home. I drive by it all the time. I love what you did with the red front door. Things fantastic. You see how contextual I can get? So talk about building a connection and building a sphere and building a tribe, right, of people that I like. If I wanted to own top of mind on a street, I would do that in one day. Right? One day. Remine, public records, Google, LinkedIn, Facebook. Done. Right? I can nail it. All 20 people on that one street, right, today. And I could do it again tomorrow. Or I could start with absentee owners first and do the same thing in New Jersey or Chicago, right? Whatever it may be. Right? See, this is where I want your brains to go, guys. And increase your odds of connecting, increase your odds of closings, increase your odds of wealth building by connecting. Right? And then when they happen to say, yeah, you know what, I'm curious. Say, well, you know what? Here's how I run my business. This is what I do. Do. See, I don't have to think anymore. Right? And then I keep going with some more and more and more. And somebody says, oh, interesting. I'm curious. Well, great. Let me explain how I run my business. 2:30 to 3 o'clock, which was better for you. Because what's my goal? To set an appointment. Every marketing, everything prospecting, everything I do is to pique enough interest that they book some appointment with me. Because that's the only time I can say, I get you face to face and I can watch your eye contact. I can watch you moving on Zoom or in person. I don't care. It's the same damn thing. Done. 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 Right? Because I will not waver with my process. And now I can just focus in on your head position, your blink rate, your breathing patterns, right? Your communication at a deeper level, right? And that's where the true mastery comes from, right? If you're just kind of throwing shit out there, guys, good luck, right? Good luck. You're going to be on a hamster wheel. You're going to be rich. You're going to be broke. You're going to be rich. You're going to be broke. You're going to be rich. You're going to be broke, right? Or you're going to take control of your business, right? Become strategic, become damn skillful, and make this a sport. And then now you have everyone you want, the ones you want, right? And you can pick and choose your clients. You can refer out the ones you don't want to work with. Isn't that fun? Right? And then you can just keep building and building and building the business you want with the clientele you want, and you can pick and choose what you want. If you like only want to work with people who love baseball, good, right? Guy that comes in and all he wants to do is talk about football and you hate football, refer him to somebody who likes football because you're going all in on one specific species, right? Or like, hey, I'll take anything, anywhere, anytime because I'm growing my business. Great, do that too. But it's all strategic, guys. All strategic. Talk about.
I agree.
Let's talk about your properties for a second. Okay, we're about to, in the next week or so, we're going to launch the new project here in Madeira Beach. Exciting as hell, right? Unbelievably exciting. Unreal, like probably the coolest project we've ever seriously ever seen that's coming on the market very soon. Meeting with the architect today, right? It's going to be fun. When we roll this out, it will be to the masses, and it will have DISC, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, wiggled in and woven through every one of the descriptions. The pictures will be appealing to all the different ones. Why? because I want somebody to say, I'm interested. Tell me more. That's all I want you to do, because now I'm going to get you face to face. You're buying a unit, right? All I want. Raise you to the surface, get an appointment. Okay. Now, your MLS descriptions on everything you're putting on the market right now. Have you thought about this at the level of which we're talking about it today? If not, that's okay, because now you will. So go edit it, send over a revised public description, realtor remarks, and put it right. Make it appealing to the D, make it appealing to the I, make it appealing to the S, make it appealing to the C. The visual, the auditory, the kinesthetic. Wait till you see the spectacular sunrise every morning as you hear the dolphins blowing their air going by, and you feel the cool ocean breeze wafting through your hair. I don't care what you say, but make sure that there's visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and that the minute you walk in, you'll notice the super efficient, AC units that have double, extra, quadruple insulation for the C's, whatever our ratings, whatever they are. But put it in there. If it's not in there, stop it, right? Because the person who's reading your Zillow description, that's where they're reading it. You don't know if they're DISC, visual, auditory, kinesthetic. You don't know if it's the buyer, the cousin, the brother, the sister, the son, the daughter. Who knows who's reading it? You just want them to say, oh, interesting. Tell me more. That's when sales starts, okay? So if you're not casting the broadest net from every piece of any content that you're putting out for yourself, for your properties, for your image, for your business, for your life, fix it. It's not hard. It just takes a little bit of time, okay? And then I hope you got the underlying message today that if you do not have your system as a system, you're wasting your time, guys, completely wasting your time. Like, really, we should be able to put anybody on right now, hit your camera and say, explain to me your listing system, right? And it better be the same way every single time. What do you do when somebody says, I'm interested in buying a home? It better be the same process you put them through every single time. Every time, without fail, no matter what, right? Anytime you go to anywhere that's a profession, that's successful, they do the same thing every time, no matter what. Go to your doctor. Your ass sits there, it signs in. It sits there, it waits. Somebody calls your name. You go over to somewhere, you do something. You sit here, they do this. They ask you a question, they do a checklist, thing goes outside the door. You wait. Somebody walks by, picks it up, comes in, asks you a bunch of questions, does a certain thing, leaves, and takes your money. Right? You go
what if they didn't? Right? This is what I always like to play the game. What if they didn't? Would that not freak you out? If I'm at the doctor's office and I'm like, hey, so I check in, they're like, you know what? Today, go back. You know what? No, go sit down. No, wait, you know what? The doctor's going to, you know what? No, the nurse practitioner is going to come in first. No, the doctor's going to come in first, then the nurse practitioner. What if they changed and literally just flew by the seat of their pants with you? Would that not freak you out?
There's some pills in the
freak me out. Yeah. You know what? Today we're going to check. No, you know what? We're not going to check. Yeah, you know what? Let's check your height. Let's see. Like, if they just did things randomly different every time, you would be a little sketched out. You'd be like, wait a minute, this doesn't seem right. Right? And that would be almost anything. If you went into a business and they were just like, nah, I don't know, maybe go stand over there, and that might be where the line is. I'm not really sure. And there was no structure to it at all, right? No process. Like, as human beings, regardless of personality type, we like processes because it's easy for us to follow on which path we're going down, right? Yep. And it speaks to all the personality types, because if I'm a high D and I'm very direct, I want to know the process and I want to know what I'm going to do, and then I want to be on my way, right? So it speaks to me. If I'm that high analytical, I want to know my process and I want to know each step and I want to know where I'm going to be in that process. And okay, great, there's 7 steps. All right, that's great. Which step? And I want that process, right? If I'm an S and I want that support, that process tells me, okay, I'm going to get here and then I'm going to do here. And it takes me through each one and makes me feel good that we've got a plan. So it speaks to every language. And even with the eyes, the process allows you, because we have a structure, to make sure that those steps there's some fun mixed into that, right? And that we can still have a good time because we're on schedule and we have a plan. And so we all, as human beings, love a set process. And when we don't have any structure, whether it's a business, you've all been to a website before where it's just slapped together and you're like, I have no idea where to go. And it doesn't matter if you're DISC, you're going to X out of that website and find something else, right? And so we all love a process. So when we want to build a successful business, we've got to have a process. And if you don't have a process, you are in big trouble.
That's right. That's right. And that step, we have the process for you. Go to Next Level You, go to Bankers Agents, watch the last level, and there's something called the Bulletproof Listing Process. It's on Next Level Resource Center, Bulletproof Buying Process, Bulletproof Listing Process. And do it. You want to tweak it, right? I recommend that you don't tweak it until you've got everything down. Like, you should have an internal goal. I'm not going to tweak anything until I've closed 12 deals. Then tweak away, right? But just follow the process until you get it done.
And let me add this, as a business owner too, have some self-awareness. If you know that you are going to struggle to deliver on a part of the process, right, that is important. So I'm a high D, high I. I have zero desire to spend a lot of my time doing inputting and detailed work. So I personally use a transaction coordinator every single time. Why? Because I don't want to do that, but it's important to the process. And I know that my C's and my S's will really appreciate having that in there. And so now I don't need to lie to them and be like, yes, I cross all the, no, it's not me, but I have a transaction coordinating team behind me that's going to ensure that we cross all of our T's and dot all of our I's. So I can still speak to it. I can still cater to it, but I'm self-aware enough to know that if it's on me, that's not something I can deliver, at least not authentically. So I'm not going to pretend.
And your sphere knows that. So for you to
100%
authentic. So you say, look, you guys know me. I will help you we will find that piece of property. I will beat up that other listing agent the best I can, get you the best deal. Then I'm turning that over to my team. They're going to handle all the details and they call me in when I'm needed. But me, I'm the strategic surgical strike team that I will come in and we will get the best deal. Right? That's it. Tell them up front.
100%. And if you haven't used our team, they're amazing. I usually use Elizabeth. She's out of this world amazing to have on your team. So use the people. And if you use somebody else, use somebody else. But just my point being is be self-aware enough to know what your business needs and the team you need around you. And it's not that expensive to have them to be part of that. For what they do, it's extremely cheap. And so I don't know. I just want to throw that out there because I personally have done it, and it's super important for you to understand every facet of your business.
That's right. All right. So in summary, time for spring cleaning. Okay. Yep. Clean up your bio, clean up your profile, clean up everything that you're doing, clean up your LinkedIn, clean up everything about you. So you are appealing to all of those personality styles and all of those communication styles of the VAK. At least, not that you have to work with them, but be appealing to them all. And then wait for one of them to raise their hands and then pay attention to how they raise their hand, what words they're using when they call your attention, and then just deliver the world that they want back to them. It's that simple, guys. Following the same process every time, right? So that's the simple secret to this industry, to this business, is same process every time, and then shut up, pay attention, repeat, right? Repeat back everything they give to you. That'll make them feel so comfortable while you're delivering the exact same process to everybody. So there's our summary for the morning on there. So take a few nuggets of information away from you today and to make this week the absolute best week you've ever had in your entire life, because why not?
Yep. Oh, thank you, Carlo. Awesome. We'll go crush it this week. And if you guys need anything, reach out. We're here.
Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful day.